What I love most about the PANRE-LA is that it does feel more aligned with the modern practice of medicine and checking your sources. We're expected to make sound clinical decisions, but also know when to double check, when to call in a consult, when to use technology to support our care. And this exam format rewards and really reflects that reality of modern medicine. Welcome to the PA is In, the show created by PAs for PAs, where codependency with your supervising physician is a thing of the past, optimal team practice is the future, and physician associate has taken the place of physician assistant as the professional title of choice. I'm Tracy Bingaman, and I'm obsessed with redefining what success as a PA looks like and what it feels like. Here you'll find the mindset shifts, systems, and processes I use to escape healthcare burnout and integrate my work into my life. Work-life balance is a myth, and an integrated life where you thrive professionally, not a balancing act, is the goal here. My mission is to help you to grow into a unicorn PA who loves their job, has abundant energy, time to spare, and work-optional financial freedom. The PA is in. Hey there, welcome back to the PA is In. I'm your host, Tracy Bingaman, PAC career coach, and today, your fellow test taker. It's been 7 or 8 years since I last sat for my boards. At that time, I took the traditional PANRE, and this time around, I decided to do something different. I enrolled in the PANRE-LA, the longitudinal assessment that the NCCPA started offering a couple of years ago. This episode is a little bit of sort of pulling the curtain back on my reflection on why I chose the PANRE-LA, what the experience has been like now that I'm 4 out of 8 quarters in, and how it compares to the old school sit in a test center, sweat for hours with your water bottle locked in a locker out in the lobby format of the traditional PANRE, which is just like when you take the pants. Whether you're due to recertify soon or you're just curious about what the process looks like these days, I want this conversation to give you insight and confidence to choose the best recertification format that works for you. All right, here we go. Have you ever wondered if your malpractice policy is providing you with enough coverage? Turns out that employers' policies protect their interest and not necessarily yours. CM&F Group offers personal liability protection that adapts to your growing, changing responsibilities, including state compacts and allowing for protection for practicing medicine across state lines. From telemedicine to license and HIPAA defense, if it's something that you need protection for, CM&F has you covered. PA students can even enjoy a completely free student policy from your first day as a student until you become a licensed PAC. In a climate where we are hyper aware of charting wording, covering ourselves, and constantly worried about practicing defensive medicine, you can't leave your liability coverage up to chance. Enjoy the peace of mind, exceptional customer service, and find the best comprehensive coverage that fits your practice at www.cmfgroup.com/thepaisin or click the link in the show notes. Okay, let's start with a little context. For decades, every PA had one and one option only for recertification, the PANRE, every 6 years. 200 plus questions in one sitting, one day, every 6 years of clinical practice. You studied, you cleared your schedule to attend a dedicated board review as your conference and CME for that year. You showed up with your number 2 pencils. Okay, maybe that's not technically accurate, a keyboard, and prayed that you passed. It was one day, one shot that you took this exam that you had to pay for. I suppose, actually, originally they might have done the PANRE with Scantrons like in PA school, and you did need a number 2 pencil. I'll have to ask someone from the PA History Society if I ever interview them, if they know the answer or if it was always electronic on the computer. Alas. So the NCCPA decided to offer a secondary option. So after a pilot that started in 2019, the NCCPA officially launched the PANRE-LA in January of 2023. The idea was simple, but a very big change from what they had done in the past. Instead of cramming, you complete smaller quarterly assessments, 25 questions every 3 months over the course of 8 quarters. You can look things up during the exam that is fully allowed using supporting text or on the internet. You answer the question, submit your answer, and you get instant feedback on whether you got the question right or incorrect. And you can take it from home or the hospital or office. You don't need to report to a Pearson testing center to take the PANRE-LA. So instead of that all or nothing test, the last year of your cycle or the 2 years out from your cycle, it's an ongoing 2-year process during years 7 through 9 of your certification cycle. And this change came on the tail of the recertification cycle length being adjusted from 6 years to 10 years. So when I graduated in 2012, I took the PANCE. I was on a 6-year cycle for my PANRE, sat for the PANRE, that traditional PANRE exam, and then the cycle switched to your board recert lasting 10 years, which is sort of independent of whether you take the exam or the longitudinal assessment. We're on a 10-year cycle now. So I was initially very opposed to taking the PANRE-LA, and I'm going to tell you why. So, in the interest of full transparency, when I first heard about the pilot, and I had some coworkers who were taking the pilot, when I heard about the PANRE-LA, my first reaction was hard pass, no thank you, not for me. That sounds great for some people, but it's not the way that I want to take this exam or recertify. I knew how I'd done with sitting with the PANRE in the past, and I thought, I took it, I passed, why change a thing? So after sitting for the PANRE, I was pretty proud of how I'd handled it. I feel like I took it pretty seriously, probably because I was in a subspecialty and I didn't know what I still knew about cardiology and pulmonology as someone who was working in general surgery at the time. So I studied, I got a board review book, I blocked off time on the weekends, I did practice questions until I felt more confident in my areas of weakness, of which they were many. And then when I walked out of the testing center, I remember thinking, okay, first of all, I'm not sure if I passed or not. Second of all, if I did pass, I don't have to do that again for 10 more years. I had 4 kids at the time, and my youngest was still nursing. So when I committed to traveling for my board review, which was in person, they were not doing as much virtual back then. He and my husband, so 2 of my young kids came along because I needed to be, nursing, pumping, with my young baby at the time. So when this idea of quarterly testing came up, my first thought was, why would I want to have it drag on for 2 years? I liked the feeling of taking the test, getting done, moving on. Plus, part of me worried that spreading it out would make it harder to be consistent and be consistently sort of ready to take the test. I am a creature of habit who doesn't love change, and I had completely written off the idea of signing up for the PANRE-LA. Again, if it's not broken, why fix it or change something? Then, when it came down to the wire for the deadline, if I had to decide if I was going to say, nope, I don't want to enroll in the PANRE-LA, I'm going to take my PANRE in a couple of years, or if I wanted to enroll in the PANRE-LA this year, I, at the very last minute, doing very little research, I just decided to go for it. What changed my mind? Um, as my recertification window approached, my life looked different. I wasn't the same relatively brand new PA hustling through long shifts. I was practicing as a clinician in a very niche field, only 3 days a week. I am now a business owner and a coach. We now have not 4, but 5 kids. 3 of them are under the age of 10. And this idea of carving out specific time to study, using my CME and travel to do a board review instead of attending the AAPA this year, and then sitting in a test center for hours felt not necessarily impossible. I think I could do it, but it just didn't sound inviting. When I really looked at my schedule and my priorities, the longitudinal format made more sense, or at least made enough sense that I was willing to try it. Instead of one, sprint and this big burst of stress, I could chip away at it over time instead of really feeling like I had to review and memorize things that I haven't done since PA school and clinical practice. I could keep learning and reviewing things in small, much more practical doses. And instead of feeling like the exam was sort of looming or this big punishment, it seemed like, hey, maybe I wonder if I can fit this into the rhythm of my life. So I decided quite spontaneously, I think the day before the deadline to register for the PANRE-LA. And honestly, I surprised myself. I did very little research. I just sort of knew what it entailed, looked at my life, and said, hey, I'm going to give it a try. Here's how it's going so far, 4 out of 8 quarters in. So let's talk about what it actually looks like. I am exactly midway, halfway through this 8-quarter process. And honestly, I've been pleasantly surprised. The questions are reasonable. They're clinically relevant. They're very similar to the questions you would see on the standard board exam or recertification exam. They're not designed to trick you for the sake of tripping you up. They are specific clinical scenarios. There's specific questions about first line, second line therapy, workup, interpretation of lab results, etc. You get 25 questions each quarter, and you can take them at home over the course of the quarter. You're allowed to use reference materials. Think up to date textbooks, if anyone is looking things up in a textbook anymore, or other reputable sources. Honestly, I spent a lot of my time Googling to confirm that my answer is correct. So, the thing I love about this is I do feel like it's a better representation of what real life practicing of medicine looks like. When I'm in clinic or I'm treating a patient and I come across something unusual, I don't just guess. I look it up, I check it, I verify, I ask a colleague. I'll tell the patient I don't know and I'm going to look it up and get back to them. So the PANRE-LA feels more authentic to how we're actually practicing medicine, which I think is in the heart of this offering, what we're trying to do here. Now, in answering some of these questions, I have definitely had a few very humbling moments where I confidently answered based on what I would do in real life and forgot that the test is looking for best answer by exam standards, something very specific to confirm a diagnosis that would be presumed in clinical medicine. And those are good reminders to slow down, read carefully, and remember it's not what you would do in clinical medicine, but rather what they're looking for in terms of the answer to the question. I'll tell you what I have learned in sort of the pacing of these 4 quarters. If you wait until the last day or the second to last day of the quarter to do your questions, you will regret it. It instantly transforms a low stress experience where you feel like you can go at your own pace and work it into your life into what feels like a cram session, even though it's just you answering the questions. I did that once in quarter 3 of this year. Never again. I'm vowing now with you and the other listeners as my witnesses, I will not wait until the last 2 days of the quarter again. If you are listening and you're thinking about signing up or you're already signed up, just in case you're getting in that camp with me and you do not want to be up against the deadlines for the quarters are March 10th, June 10th, September 10th, and December 10th. Every 3 months on the 10th of the month. I do not know how September 10th snuck up on me. I knew that it was the deadline, and still somehow I was behind and I was cramming the questions in, not cramming studying, but it still felt way more stressful than I needed to. Here are the lessons learned and my biggest takeaways from taking the PANRE-LA so far, halfway through. Number 1, be proactive. Schedule your questions early in each quarter. Even block an hour on your calendar so you don't forget. Set yourself a reminder. I typically like to do these questions on one of my work from home days when I'm doing things like recording podcasts first thing in the morning, either before the day starts and the rest of the house wakes up, or after my kiddos board the bus to school. I want it to be quiet. I don't want to be distracted or pulled away, which for me means everyone is gone or asleep. I don't want to do it while I'm getting ready to prep for something. I don't want to do it when I'm about to rush out the door or when my kids are almost home. Think about yourself. What time can you set aside that is undistracted where you can truly focus on the questions? And also think about, when are you at your best? I am absolutely positively not a night owl. I would never want to do these questions after my kids go to bed. But if that is you, block a time, make an appointment with yourself and plan on being proactive about getting the questions done and over with. Number 2, don't overstudy. I didn't study hardly at all. Trust your clinical reasoning and that you are choosing appropriate resources. I feel like I shouldn't say I haven't studied at all. I have been diligent about taking time to read the explanations for the questions that I got wrong, expecting that I'll see similar topics in the future. I did that for questions that I thought, hey, I really don't know the answer to this question. I'm taking my best guess. Or questions where I was pretty sure my answer was correct. And then I was surprised when I was wrong so that I would understand why I was wrong. Overall, I've relied on my own clinical knowledge and things that are still knocking around in my brain and reliable resources and just being sort of thoughtful with confirming the answers that I think to be correct. Number 3, use this as a learning opportunity. I've identified gaps in things that I, didn't know. It's in some of those areas where I would have considered them weaknesses before studying for the PANRE. And it's made me a sharper clinician and just even a little bit more aware of what I know and what I don't know. Every single time I've recertified, whether the PANRE or now taking the PANRE longitudinal assessment, I have been in a specialty. First, I was in general surgery. I did a stint in urology, and now I'm in plastics and aesthetics. Literally, zero of what I do on a day to day basis in my clinical practice is being tested on these exams. However, I find this encouraging, and I hope this is encouraging to you. I still know things. It's there in my brain, and mostly my Googling is checking on any updated evidence or confirming my first thought in terms of my best guess or what I think is correct in the multiple choice. And number 4, keep perspective. This isn't about perfection. You're not going to get every single question right, just like you didn't get every single question right on the PANCE or the PANRE. It's about continuous learning and staying current. Getting a few questions wrong isn't going to bomb your score for the quarter or even your overall test result. It isn't about your score. It's about proving your overall competency as a clinician to keep you practicing for the next 10 years. You do not get bonus points for scoring higher on this test. Also, don't be afraid to walk away and come back another day when you're sitting for the PANRE-LA. Another benefit of not waiting to the last minute is having that flexibility to walk away. I've had quarters where I sat down and did 10 or 15 questions. One quarter, I did all 25 in one shot. There have been other times where I've sat down and gotten questions I didn't love, skipped, got wrong, felt like I was stumbling and not in the flow at all. Instead of continuing the slaughter, I pressed pause on the exam and I came back another day. Typically, I'll try to do that the next day or 1 week later, depending on my life and schedule or how busy I am at that time. That feels like a big perk of the PANRE-LA. Life happens. You have an off day, you don't feel your best, you aren't getting questions correct that you know you should be, and you can come back to fight another day. What I love most about the PANRE-LA is that it does feel more aligned with the modern practice of medicine and checking your sources. We're expected to make sound clinical decisions, but also know when to double check, when to call in a consult, when to use technology to support our care. And this exam format rewards and really reflects that reality of modern medicine. It's not about how much you can memorize, it's about how you think, how your clinical reasoning is, and how you keep learning as a clinician who is getting on in years in terms of experience. For me, I do find it's been less stressful, and that is saying something because I didn't think taking the PANRE was that stressful. I don't have test anxiety. I don't get super stressed about things like that. I did find it to be more sustainable, far more compatible with being a PA who's juggling a full plate outside of work during this season of life. You, my friend, are approaching recertification. Take a moment to reflect on you. Think about how you handle test anxiety, what your life looks like right now, and how you prefer to learn. Maybe you love the one and done approach of the PANRE and you just want to get it over with. Or for me right now, you'd like to weave in small doses of testing throughout life. Neither option is wrong, but one might fit you and your life right now better than the other. I'll be back with a full debrief once I finished all 8 quarters, which is 1 year from now. But so far, the PANRE-LA has been a great fit for this season of my career and my life. I will tell you, when I originally thought about it, I thought 2 years, that sounds like so long. And now that I'm halfway through, I think, well, 1 more year, I'm halfway through. It didn't actually feel like that long and drawn out. It felt like one more thing that I had to do, but the thing was manageable and just sort of worked its way into the rhythm of life. Remember, if you do sign up for the PANRE-LA and you try it and you don't love it and you want to take the PANRE next time, that option exists for you. If you've taken it, if you're thinking about taking it, I would love to hear your experience. Come on out and find me on LinkedIn or on Instagram and tell me what you think about the PANRE versus the PANRE-LA, what you decided to go with and why. Thank you for tuning in and for continuing to be on a quest to grow as a clinician and for letting me share this honest, unfiltered look from behind the scenes. Until next time, keep showing up, keep learning, keep up to date on your board recertification, and remember, you can build a career in medicine that truly fits your life. That's all for today. This PA is out. Congratulations, you've just joined an awesome club. By listening to a full episode of The PA is In, you are officially on the Unicorn PA team. Welcome aboard. What most team members do is they subscribe to the podcast because that allows them to automatically get the latest episode of the show. The life of your dreams exists on the other side of taking action. Keep making small shifts and keep getting better. Your life will improve, your career will soar, and you will have the confidence you need to create your own success. I will see you in the next episode. This PA is out.